Isaac Newton, born way back in 1642, was a super important guy in the scientific revolution. His work is like the foundation of modern physics. But Newton's early life was a mix of tough times and big potential. He was born way too early and people didn't think he'd make it. He went to school, but at first he wasn't anything special. But then his curiosity and smarts started to show. Get this, there was this bully who picked on Newton. So Newton, after getting pushed around, challenged the bully to a smarts competition. Can you believe it? And guess what? Newton won big time, showing everyone how smart he really was. This made him want to learn even more. He became a top student, loving math and all things space. Later, Newton went to Trinity College in Cambridge, and that's where the really big discoveries happened. At Cambridge, Newton's genius took off. He came up with amazing ideas that changed how we see the universe. One of his biggest contributions, his 3 laws of motion. These laws explain how things move and how forces affect them. The first law says that if something's not moving, it stays put, and if it's moving, it keeps moving in a straight line unless something pushes or pulls it. The second law tells us how force, mass, and acceleration are all related. The third law says that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Think of bouncing a ball. You push down, and it pushes back up. But Newton's biggest discovery was the law of universal gravitation. The story goes that Newton was sitting under an apple tree when an apple fell on his head. This made him realize that everything in the universe pulls on everything else with a force called gravity. This force explains why things fall to the ground, why the moon goes around the earth, and why the earth goes around the sun. Pretty cool, right? Newton's laws of motion and gravitation are like the basic rules of physics. They help us understand how things move both here on Earth and out in space. Newton didn't stop at gravity and motion. He made big discoveries about light too. He used prisms to show that white light is actually made up of all the colors of the rainbow. This changed everything we knew about light and color. He even invented a new kind of telescope, a reflecting telescope. This telescope used mirrors instead of lenses, which meant you could build bigger and more powerful telescopes. And in math, Newton came up with calculus all on his own. Calculus is a super powerful tool that changed math and physics forever. It helps us study how things change and move, which is super important for physics and engineering. Newton's work with light and math made him a true genius in many areas. Isaac Newton's impact on science is huge. His work is the basis of so much of modern physics. We still use his laws of motion and gravitation today to design everything from cars to rockets. Newton showed us how important it is to observe, experiment, and use math in science. He inspired tons of other scientists, and his ideas still shape how we understand the universe, and his influence goes beyond science. Newton's ideas were a big part of the Enlightenment, a time when people started thinking about the world in new ways. He showed that we can understand the universe through reason and observation. Newton's work reminds us that we should always be curious and that learning new things can change the world. His discoveries still amaze us today, showing us just how much the human mind can achieve.